Chad Ikes here, columnist for Elite FTS, and I'm doing a video for a column I just wrote on bracing. Bracing is very difficult to explain in words, and I felt like my readers needed something to make sure they understood what I just wrote. So I'm shooting this video. I'm going to start with some of the mistakes that I see, and I don't know if these are mistakes because people don't really understand what bracing is, or they're just not cognitive of what their bodies are doing. But the first one that I see that irritates me the most is taking that big breath of air into your chest right before the lift. I have even seen people get under the bar, get up, they look good, they're in position, all they got to do is brace, and instead of bracing they go and now they're out of position. Now they're definitely not bracing, and if they are still trying to brace, they're not getting as much out of the bracing as they can. Now the reasons that this is not good for bracing is because, first of all, when you take all that air into your chest, now it's going to be hard to expand your midsection or your core like you're supposed to, because all the air is up in here. It's going to make it difficult to create the amount of IAP you should be able to, which is intra-abdominal pressure. Also, when they do that, they expand their chest up usually. And what this does is gives you the open scissor effect like this. So what we're talking about is when you're bracing properly, you want to drop your rib cage down over the pelvic floor. And that's going to allow you to actually expand all the way around those two in an even amount and get the most IAP and get the most bracing power you can. Once you open up like this, that's not going to happen. All the air comes out here. Think of it like two cylinders with a balloon in between them. If you take those two cylinders and do this, now all this pressure is popping out the front. We don't want that. We want that pressure equally all the way around. One of the other issues I see has to do with the belt and people putting the belt on way too tight. We're not sucking the abdominals in, and we are not trying to squeeze them. That does the opposite of bracing. Instead of creating structure and power, it takes away power. I have a very easy solution I use for this. I've been using it for a very long time. Basically what you want to do when you put your belt on, it should be snug. Not super tight, but snug. This is actually a little tight for me right now. And you want to take 4 fingers and be able to slide them in without trying to suck your gut in. I mean, just standing there, be able to slide 4 fingers in. Or I can, but it's a little tighter than I'd want. Then what I'll have the person do is I'll say brace. And they brace against it. Now can I pull my fingers out? I can, but it's difficult. That's what you want. If you can't fit 4 fingers in, it's probably too tight to begin with. If you put the 4 fingers in, they brace, and you can pull them right back out, then either the belt is too loose or they need to work on their bracing more. But that at least gives you somewhere to start with how tight the belt should be. One of the other mistakes I see, and I did this for years and years and years, I was a big archer, low back arch. I arched as hard and as tight as I could. That again, that does that open scissor effect where all of a sudden I go arch. All I did is take this here and go whoop. Now, even if I do brace and expand my belly, I'm not creating the IAP that I had. My low back, my back's in this huge arch position. It's just not as strong as doing it correctly. So what is correctly? Correct bracing starts with stacking the vertebrae, your spine, stacking your spine. And this is incredibly simple. We are looking for a neutral spine. By that, I mean the natural curves in your back. And you're going to have 3 curves in your back. You're going to have an arch, or lordosis in your cervical spine, another arch or lordosis in your back, your lumbar spine, and then you're going to have, there'll be some kyphosis or hunch in your cervical spine. That's the natural curve of the spine, and that's where it is designed to be. That's the strongest position for your spine. So all we're doing is we're looking for that natural position. You don't want to like tuck your hips under you and try to straighten your low back out. You don't want to lift your head up really high. You don't want to hunch your back even more. I mean, you just want that natural position that your spine should be in. And then what we're going to do, I get in that position, and it's hard. You got to kind of learn where it is, and then when you get under the bar, make sure you're still in that position, which takes a little bit of time and skill to learn. But once you do that and you're in that position, now what you want to do is you want to breathe as much air into your belly as you can. And let me stop right now and say breathing is not bracing, okay? They're two separate things. But learning to breathe into your belly is actually a good exercise to help with bracing. At least I find it to be. So basically, when you're standing there, I'm just breathing into my belly. And as you'll notice, my chest does not move up at all. If you're going, you're breathing into your chest. So learning to breathe into your belly is just a good exercise. But back to the bracing, that's how I like to start my bracing. Have my spine in a neutral position, and I'm trying to fill my belly up, and I'm thinking about filling it from the bottom all the way up to the top, which is kind of an interesting concept when you first start trying it, but you'll get to where you can go. But still, you see my chest did not move at all. All the air went into my belly. And now once it's full of air, you're not braced. Like I said, you're not braced. You just have air in here. Air's not enough to get the job done. So once I'm completely full of air, that's when I'm pushing out as hard as I can. So I'm going air, push. And when I push, we're not talking about, I keep putting my hands here, I shouldn't do that. We're not talking about just pushing out here. I'm talking about pushing out here, 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 here. Once you learn how to do this really good, you'll be able to put your hands on either side of your spine and go. And you'll actually feel it expand where your back is on the sides of those vertebrae. It should expand all the way around this whole section. Like I said earlier about the two cylinders with a ball in between them. And you push down the balloon, and you push down in that balloon, you want that balloon to expand out all the way around. We want this whole thing expanding around all the way out. Now the last part of bracing, and some people will probably argue with me that maybe this is not part of bracing, but in my mind it is. And the reason I believe this is part of bracing is because our goal here is to make from the cranium to the coccyx, including the pelvic bones, one solid cylinder. It does not move from here. Once I'm in my neutral position, nothing moves from here to here. When I squat or when I deadlift, I'm hinging at the hips. Everything in my back and my upper body stays the same. If I'm sitting down into a squat, it's all going to stay the same. Everything hinges from the hips. So the last part of bracing to me is compacting this whole thing. I want to take all my vertebrae and I want to pull them down tight on top of each other. What's the best way to do that? It's your lats. Your latissimus dorsi is this huge muscle all the way in the back that comes all the way down. And if you pull this and you go like this, it's almost like trying to shrink. You're trying to make yourself shorter. So once I'm braced and pushed out, I go and I pull my lats down tight. And that's compressing everything and holding everything in that much tighter. So my back is one solid cylinder. My whole body is one solid cylinder, only hinging on my hips. Everything else is so locked in, it can't even move. So that's basically bracing. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you don't brace now, or if you've been bracing wrong, learning this is not necessarily gonna be the easiest or fastest thing. It's gonna take a little while. And you're gonna go, oh yeah, I can brace really good right here, and then you're gonna get a bar on your back, and halfway down, you're gonna end up relaxing some because you're not used to it. So it's something that's gonna take you a little while to work on. And it's one of those things where when you're working on it, all of a sudden it's gonna click and you're gonna go, holy shit, I feel so fucking strong. Because everything's compacted. You won't have, if you're one of those guys that, you'll see guys in the squat, come down and go like this, or they let their butt up first. If you're braced, if you're locked in hard, your back's not gonna hunch. It can't hunch. Like, I have to relax my brace in order to show you this. So, bracing is gonna do two big things. You can say which one's more important to you. To me, safety is the biggest thing. Because lifting is a sport of attrition. The longer I'm in this game, the healthier I can stay, the stronger I can get. In your competitive years. I'm kind of past my competitive years and my life's in a different place now. The second thing is stronger. You will lift more weight. So I shouldn't even say stronger. You're gonna lift more weight without even getting stronger. If you brace horribly right now and you squat 500 pounds, if you learn to brace and learn to use your belt, you should squat 550 or 600 without even getting stronger. So ways to help work on that bracing. I like to take a knee wrap it around the midsection, just tie it. You only got to wrap it once, tie it, have it snug. I find that helps people, gives them a little something to push against, helps with the proprioception between the mind and the core to learn to push out. I also like wearing a belt. I'll take people, I'll find out where their belt fits right, and then I'll open it one or two more holes, especially for their warm-ups and as they're building up, because now if they do want any support out of that belt, they have to really try and push out, and sometimes that helps people to learn to push out even more. Bracing is something that will help in your whole life too. It should become habit. It was habit when you learned to crawl and walk. We all did this. It's when we got older and we started using our brains, and then we started using all these muscles more for movement and weren't using them to brace. So once you start working on this in the gym, it should be transferring into your life. When you go to pick stuff up at the floor, say you're picking out at the store, if you're going to pick up a bag of dog food, you should naturally, without thinking about it, push out. And I do this naturally when I pick up almost anything nowadays. That's where we want to get. But that also leads me to the point of, in life is a great place to continue to work on this stuff. There's times where I'm driving home and I'm like, I'll brace as hard as I can, and then I'll work on breathing while I'm bracing, or if I'm at work standing there, I'll just work on my bracing. I may be watching TV and I'll brace, or I'm cooking dinner and I'll brace. You can work on this anywhere, anytime, and the more you work on it, the faster you're gonna get it. The closer you're gonna get to mastering it. When you master it, that's when you're gonna get under weights and everything's just gonna be a completely different story. So, those are some of the things I see wrong. That's how to correctly brace. Some tips on working on bracing to learn it better. I know it's gonna seem weird to some people. It's gonna be frustrating at first. You're not gonna get it the first day, but I'm telling you, if you do this, if you work on this, you will see huge gains from it. You will get done with a deadlift session or a squat session and you're gonna be like, wow, man, my back actually feels really good. It's not as sore as it normally is, because we're taking some of that pressure off of the back and we're using all these other muscles that we were supposed to be using the whole time. So that's it. It's pretty simple. Work on it. I'm telling you, learn to brace. Be aware of not breathing into your chest. Be aware of breathing into your belly. Be aware of pushing out against your belly. Watch videos. Stand in front of the mirror and work on it. Put your hands up here and go, oh no, it lifted my chest. This is like any other technique. It's like learning to squat right or bench right or deadlift right or do cleans right or Olympic lifts right. It's going to take time. Stick with it. When it catches on, you're going to understand why you went through all that work, why you did all this, and you're going to lift more fucking weight. All right, thanks for watching.